Hey everyone, excited to be here again in my little series where I'm going through each and every one of Berkshire's annual letters sent out to shareholders. This time we're going to be covering the letter that was sent out in 1979, and I'm just going to be sharing some of my thoughts as I read through it, and hopefully you guys find them valuable. If you do, let me know, and we'll just jump right into it. And I'm just going to be reading directly off of my computer here for some of the quotes and stuff that we have. This first quote has to do with how Warren feels it's appropriate to measure the performance of his managers, as it seems in his perspective, especially at this time, much of the focus was on maybe earnings per share or things like that. And this is what he has to say. The primary test of managerial economic performance is the achievement of high earnings rate on equity capital employed without undue leverage, accounting, gimmickry, etc., and not the achievement of consistent gains in earnings per share. I really like this as I've learned more about Warren's strategy and really kind of understood why this is important. If you're measuring return on equity, which takes the net income of a company divided by the total shareholders' equity, you're able to see how well effectively the management is able to turn the equity that they have into earnings, into profit. And so you can see just how efficient they are. And if they're able to generate returns that are higher than average, that means that they're more efficient and effective at deploying what they currently have. And that can show you when you have a management team that's really, really knowledgeable and good, really, at what they're doing. So is a really good measure. I really like this, and the more I learn about it, the more I love to focus on return on equity as well. The second quote actually comes after a long time of Warren talking about different things in the insurance industry where they have to re-up rates every year and essentially reconfigure them based on what they expect losses to be that year for the insurance that's actually written, as well as inflation, so that way obviously the companies are profitable, and not being willing to lock that in for long periods of time, and relates this to bonds, as he actually is very hard on himself for a decision that they made as a management team to invest a good chunk of money into US bonds. And they locked the money into 15 years, and he is really at this point regretting that, as it locks up that money for 15 years while inflation and different things could be going on, and essentially locks them out of being able to use that effectively and causes them to lose money, as he doesn't have a way of really feeling like can know what in the next 15 years what inflation is going to look like. So their real interest rate has a good chance of being negative, which that real interest rate is the interest rate listed on the bond. So for example, 5% minus inflation. So if we've got a 5% interest rate on the bonds, but inflation is 6%, your real interest rate is actually negative 1%. And at this time in the late 70s, obviously inflation was on the rise, and he also didn't know what the next 15 years held. So he felt like he was offering himself up to unneeded risk. And this is what he has to say, just as a very quick quote. He says, "We likewise will be unhappy with our 15-year bonds and will annually pay a price in terms of earning power that reflects that mistake." And I think from this time going forward, as I'll probably learn, I don't know that he ever, or Berkshire ever, put money into long-term bonds. He still uses short-term US treasuries to invest their money, but he only focuses short-term. He's not going to be locking up money long-term, as number one, I think, just as before, he doesn't feel comfortable in predicting what the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years are going to look like. And number two, he can use the capital more effectively in decision making and investing in companies. So it gives you guys an idea of what he's thinking. And lastly, I don't think I could say this enough, I love how well Warren ties in the good and the bad that's going on, and not being afraid to share both. I think that's what we should look for in management, is that they're not afraid to share the bad, and in fact are often overly pessimistic, because if you're always under promising and over delivering, I think that's a really good sign for just a management style in general. and it's really good to see. And I love getting to learn from more, and hopefully you guys take some time to read through these annual letters as well. They are absolute gold. I'm loving every minute that I get to spend and getting to share it with you guys. So hopefully you found this valuable, and let me know.